Boy, these eggs are getting tough. Let's see. Where am I in this process? Arknights, marketing, Raid Shadow Legends. But yeah, I will straight up, like, block PR companies that are trying to, push Raid Shadow Legends. And so I'll get, like, a couple months of sweet silence, and then they'll hire a new company, and then that email address will suddenly become, you know, the new one that's spamming me, and I have to remember to block it, and then I block them, and kind of rinse repeat a couple of times. I don't like it. Even if it's a good game, like, I don't like that. I don't like that kind of marketing. It feels real bad to me. I don't really like, sponsored anything. Like, I think I talked about this the other day, but it actually makes me really uncomfortable when people pay me to play games, just because, like, I do feel like my opinions are impacted. The interesting thing is, like, a game developer paying me to play anything inherently makes my own opinion worse. And I think part of it is because, like, I feel like I can't say anything bad about the game while I'm playing it. So I did a sponsored video on Torchlight 3, and I legitimately enjoyed it, mainly just because it's an action RPG. It's a Diablo-like, and, like, doesn't deviate too much from the formula, which means it's just kind of nice comfort food for me. The only immediate problem that I had with it was that, let's see. The only immediate problem that I had with Torchlight 3 was the fact that voice sliders are non-existent. They're tied to the sound effects, and I hate that. I think it's the worst decision ever, and why does any developer ever do that? It's frankly moronic, and it makes me angry whenever I run into that, because it's just like, I want to enjoy this game more, and this actively prevents me from doing so. Hello, level 4 engineering chip. That's exactly what I'm here for. I guess I missed out on the chip on a lower level, but I don't care. Let's see. Oh. But yeah, so because they had sponsored me, I was kind of sitting there being like, I really want to be mad about this, but I feel like I can't, because I feel like that would be, oh shit, they're coming from my base. I didn't even notice. Oh, it's fine. We got plenty of time. Everything is good. Let's see. What was I saying? Right, with sponsorships. But, so if I do run into something I don't like, or wish they would change, you know, normally if I see something in this game that I think needs to be fixed, I can just outwardly say, like, yeah, this sucks. I hope they fix it, or why did they do this? And I just can't do that when I'm streaming. I think maybe that's it. That I am a critical person, and some amount of my commentary style is sitting down and breaking down, like, what's wrong with the game. I know a lot of people hate it when I do that, but I stand by it just in terms of, like, this is something that I like doing. Because I find constructive criticism is few and far between. And I feel like I can fairly reasonably provide it I can fairly reasonably provide constructive criticism without feeling like I'm being too harsh on a game or a developer or something like that. Okay. I guess first things first, let's check our reactors. Yeah, okay, so we could make some new ones. I think I might be able to make a better reactor core, though. Yeah, you can't improve if you don't know what you did wrong. Yeah. I think so much of it also has to do with the fact that I get yelled at a lot by, Oh. Well, that's gonna take some time. Guess I'm thirsty. Let's drink some Vita D. But yeah, so when I get sponsored for a video, I have to sit down and say, like, I can't talk about any of this stuff. I mean, maybe I can. Maybe a lot of developers don't care. And, you know, they just want me to be showing off the game regardless of what I say. But I know for a fact that, like, if I am brutal in my, like, opinions on the game, they would not want to pay me. And I think that would be somewhat fair. And so, I don't know. Hooks my head. I don't like it. That's why I only do sponsored videos on games that actually look good and play well. Like, I still would have played Celeste Crown of the Magister, and I'm looking forward to playing it at the end of May. And, you know, they sponsored a video from me, and I'm super glad they did, because it's a good game. Do I even need any of this stuff? I don't think I've actually been processing any of these anyway. Just queue up a little bit more of each of these, because, yeah, they give me 300 of everything. Let's see. What if they don't manipulate you now, but go, okay, this guy talked bad about us, we're not sending him anything next time. So, fascinating thing is that has never happened to me. I honestly would have expected a couple of developers would have kind of maybe blacklisted me over the years just for being kind of hard on the games. But, like, I was straight up merciless towards Pathfinder Kingmaker. That the launch version of that game sucked. It was bad. And they sent me a copy of Wrath of the Righteous. So, hey, I guess I don't have to worry about that. At least not from them, but, like, historically, most developers are actually pretty cool with me sitting down and being like, this is what's wrong with their game. And I think to some degree, it makes sense, because ultimately they don't care. That it is better actually to have somewhat negative press, respectfully negative press, than just full-on negative press. But respectful negative press at least makes people look at the game and think, like, okay, maybe that's good. No press is bad. And, like, historically is always just terrible and nobody wants that. And I've definitely seen a couple of games die in obscurity purely because not a single person was willing to, like, give it a shot. And honestly, most of the time it is quite justified because there's no real reason to actually have played those games. They were terrible. But there's a couple that, like, died sad deaths because, yeah, just no one bothered. Oh, I really need to pee. Extreme need to urinate. Well, let's hustle to the bathroom. I didn't even notice I needed to pee. It's like Baldur's Gate 3 is the evil-leaning D&D CRPG, while Celeste is the good-leaning one. Yeah, I didn't really see a whole lot of options where I could have gone bad in Celeste. I just like the verticality in it. Like, being able to climb and stuff feels super good to me. Okay. It's in here. They're on, right? Gosh, I hope they're on. Yep. That very much sounds like my guns are on. Okay. I think we're fine. This SMG is insane. This must be one of my new ones. Yeah, once we get maxed out SMGs, I'll probably just deck this place out. I have no idea where I'm gonna fight the final boss. Maybe it's in here? Probably not. Oh, that was easy. Game has urination. Bit weird, but okay. I think they were trying to go for a more of a realistic approach. And to some degree, I do kind of enjoy it, because it's like, I'll be out exploring, and the game's like, oh shit, you need to pee, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to pee. And so suddenly I have to go find, like, the nearest bathroom. Like, it actually makes a lot of sense, because it's not particularly demanding. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's going to take hours, so let's just not do that. Imagine putting top tier SMGs in all of them. You won't need to do a thing. I mean, for the most part, I already don't need to do a thing. Okay, so we're going to the Pisces district, but I actually have to remember to turn on the power. Like, in Ark, you have to shit for some reason, and it never really made a whole lot of sense to me except for farming purposes. At least this game tries to kind of make it work, and gives you plenty of opportunities to go to the bathroom, so it's like... It's weird, but it doesn't feel wildly out of place like some other games. So I really loved and hated the jump mechanics in the first release of Baldur's Gate 3. I haven't been back to actually see what's changed there. It was one of those games that, I think I fell into that psychological trap as a streamer and YouTuber, where night started strong and then just slowly, like, dipped down and down over the course of the day. And also the game dragged on. That I like me some games with some story. But it often feels like a lot of story-based games have really piss-poor pacing. Like, Final Fantasy VII and It Takes Two are some of the best-paced games I think I have ever experienced. Where, like, there was never a dull moment, there was never a slow moment, and I hated the characters, but I was so compelled that I kept playing anyway. I'm going to get clobbered on this. I know I am. The problem is I'm too fast and too strong, so it's made me headstrong. Okay, charging is complete. I'm so glad this thing doesn't use energy. I'd be in a bad way. Let's see. I don't actually know if I care about any of this stuff. I don't really. I was hoping to find the light switch. There it is. Made it halfway through Final Fantasy VII before my dislike for the cast made me stop playing. But the remake is better, but I haven't convinced myself to get it. It's pretty good. At the very least, they made all the characters very endearing. Like, Barrett's still kind of weirdly as shit to Cloud for a while, and Cloud is just kind of meh. But boy, they made the other characters just so unbelievably endearing. Especially the side characters. Like, I was legitimately upset when spoilers happened. Like, I think Final Fantasy VII is the first game that I've ever stayed up extra late because I did not want to go to bed on a cliffhanger. Most games I'll stay up late just because I want to play more of it or I want to get it done. That was the first game that I've played that I, like, truly felt compelled that, like, oh boy, I need to keep playing this. Otherwise, like, I'm going to be uncomfortable. Hated the dancing mission. I loved the dancing mission. It was so dumb. Like, it didn't need to be, it didn't need to be anything fancy. It was just fun. But I can see why, like, it could be difficult if you're not keyed in for that sort of thing. I honestly was, like, edge of my seat a little bit. I think that might have actually been one of the harder parts of the game. Let's see. You having that opinion makes me seriously consider grabbing it. Isn't it free? Or won't... I want to say Final Fantasy VII is free or was free on PS Plus, like, very recently. And I could be very wrong on this. I thought that was the case. I will say for the minigames, I wish that there was an accessibility option that just says, I suck at this, please throw it on baby mode just for this. More games need that. Because I had that problem with World of Final Fantasy. They had some weird minigames that you had to do for, like, certain objectives, and I just wanted nothing to do with them. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII is, like, I'm gonna say it kind of ruined JRPGs for me. Because of how well paced it was. Because, like, normally with a JRPG, you have all these, like, wasted segments, and it takes forever to get anywhere. And you have to grind and a bunch of other things. And Final Fantasy VII Remake was just like, nope, we're chucking it out there. The only thing I will say is you might hate the ending of the remake, because it effectively throws the canon out the window. And honestly, from my perspective, I was like, alright, cool, do it. I'm fine with this. New ground, let's go. I also heard they're kind of coming up with like a mobile version that stitches together every Final Fantasy VII game together. Because, like, they had a bunch, and I don't know if that's going to include, like... I know it includes Crisis Core. I don't know if it's going to include, like, them gamifying Advent Children or, like, Dirge of Cerberus. I kind of hope they do, because that'd be really cool. Because I never played Dirge of Cerberus, and I probably never will. But, like, some part of me wants to, just to see it, even though I know it was bad. I kind of miss the Square Enix that would... Well, I guess they still exist with that, but I think they just took that energy and applied it to mobile platforms. Back in the PS2 era, Square Enix would straight up, like, do spin-offs and, like, weird shit like that, and it was cool. Even if it wasn't very good. I felt like they were slightly more adventurous in that era. But I think that's back before 13 took forever to make, and games were less expensive to make then, too. Because now you really have to worry about, like, visuals and all sorts of things. What's this? Oh, it's just a power chamber. Yeah, Final Fantasy 13 in all its iterations. I still want to play that at some point and just sit down and be like, was it bad? I don't know. Because I know everybody likes to hate on 13. And, like, kind of like what I was talking about earlier with the whole, like, expectations and, like, rating a thing based on what people expect versus what it actually ended up being. I'm gonna pop a decontamination pill just because. It lasts forever and keeps everything down. We're just gonna keep going up. Because what we're looking for is on floor 6 and onwards. Yeah, 13 was okay. If you like the story, it's enjoyable. There's not much exploration in it, so it's very linear. See, that's the thing. I actually really like that. I find exploration can be good in games, but I think this game is actually a perfect counterpoint to the idea of, like, the lack of quality in a linear narrative. Of, like, I don't think I would enjoy this game. Well, no. I don't think I enjoy this game necessarily for all of the exploration. I'm exploring, but I'm getting nothing out of it. And I think so much of that has to do with the fact that it is a procedurally generated just Ultra Labyrinth, or series of Ultra Labyrinths, as opposed to anything actually impactful. Like, at this point, half the reason why I'm playing this is sunk cost fallacy, and the other half the reason why I'm playing this is sequel, and the last half is because it's kind of a nice podcast game, where, with the exception of getting slightly distracted here and there and losing my place, I can otherwise sit here and talk for multiple hours about whatever the hell I want, and kind of just have a conversation with you and everybody else. You know, on YouTube and so on and so forth. I mean, okay, less the YouTube people. This series is going to be done before it ever hits YouTube. The only thing I gotta remember to do is breathe. But, like, exploring in this game is very frustrating. Not because it's bad, but it's just because, like, there's nothing new about this. And so I find I have this problem in a lot of, you know, big JRPGs. It's like, open world exploration, side quests, things to do, and I'm like, no, give me a really linear game with, like, a really good plot that utilizes every square inch of the game. Has no wasted space, no big bonus areas, no randomized battles that mostly just exist to waste your time. You know, give me a game that can be beaten in 40 hours and every single one of those hours felt like it was good. Whereas, like, I like Dragon Quest XI. It was a charming game. I hated the protagonist. He was atrocious. Because he was no one. And I know he's supposed to be a silent protagonist, but it still makes me mad. Because all the other characters were so vibrant and happy and whatever. But beyond that, the game was too big. There was no point in exploring half the time. And even if there was a point, it was just kind of like, yeah, but this would have just felt better if it was just kind of on rails for me. Wasted space will always exist until they find something annoying to put in there. And it's just like, I really respect games that cut out all of the fluff. It's why I said Final Fantasy VII's the remake made me start to hate JRPGs. Is because that game, it had a couple of segments that I would truly qualify as kind of wasted. And a lot of stuff that, yes, you could technically cut out because it's just traveling point A to point B. But it felt so much leaner than almost every other game that I've played in RPGs. Let's see. Oxygen filter. Truly does not matter, but I might as well plug it in anyway. Like, I think the only section of Final Fantasy VII that I really feel like they could have cut out was the haunted train yard. I think that was the only section that really felt like, why is this in here? And there were a couple of bits that were missing. Like, I really wanted to see the basement, like Barrett's basement, and you never get to see it. I'm kind of miffed about that, because that would have been really cool. Oh, did we already? Yeah, we already found the switches. It was convenient. What floor am I on? 3. I gotta get up to floor 6 plus to find the research level 4 chip. As soon as I get that, we're done with the game. But yeah, that's how Final Fantasy 13 broke me from 100% games. Got to the end and realized how much grinding those massive adamantoses I'd need to actually upgrade my characters. Just watch the ending on YouTube. Ugh. What I'd probably do is play it with a, with like a multiplier running. Just so I could be done. I sometimes think it's odd when some games' main character role in a game is blank. When it's a role-playing game. How many of you guys have seen or played, Disco Elysium? Because I think that game did the whole blank slate protagonist incredibly well. Because you weren't a blank slate. You had a history, you mattered. And your choices mattered in kind of shaping your character in such a substantive manner. And really, you'd just fall into one of 4 different personality types that the game kind of had preset. But it was like, sorry cop, badass cop, and like maybe like a couple others. I forget what the other one was. I think I was a sorry cop. But I was like kind of a redeemed sorry cop. And had some other redeeming factors. But it was so satisfying because, you know, I was effectively a nobody at the start of the game and built my character into being somebody in a way that, you know, felt like it was reasonable and interesting. Oh, sweet Bessie. Okay, I take it back. I take it back again. It is kind of fun exploring in this. Problem is, my gun broke. I was not expecting that. Bullet hosing is real satisfying up until you find out, oh, name on the plate says Veronica Jones. Okay. So we skipped some of the plot a little bit. This is the person that was torturing people in that other building that we found. This is her office. Here it is. Okay, so this gets me the Biosphere chip. And Agent Morgan's report. Agent Heather Morgan reporting in. There were no suspicions so far, sir. The mission was a success. I tried to apply for a research intern position at the Biosphere. But because my specialty didn't lie in research, they wouldn't take me. Another option became clear. Administration. Starting as secretary, I managed to infiltrate the administration of Spirit Plaza fairly quickly. I shot up in the hierarchy. My superiors tended to be accident-prone when I was around. It hadn't even been a year before I became district manager of the plaza. As the district manager, I was placed in charge of everything that occurred in the plaza, including sanitation and safety and food storage. I took samples from the restaurant's pantry, crossed to analyze them with the samples from Earth. It was a match. Listeriosis was in Mars's food supply as well. I gathered as evidence and found that the produce originated from the biosphere here at MPO. I lobbied the council shortly after. The council heard my case and agreed it was bad for tourism and profits. I nominated myself as head of the investigation, and with a little greasing of the wheels, I was put in charge. My first order of business was to inspect the biosphere's facilities. Curiously, many produce items weren't infected, but I ended up finding the source, Mars lettuce. The head researcher, Dr. Tayama, fought me every step of the way. That bastard was probably hiding this from everyone. I just know it. I'm gonna lobby the council for direct control of the biosphere after I present these Listeriosis samples and can find out what Dr. Tayama knows in any way I can. If this was a direct attack on Earth, I plan on secretly extraditing him so he can be properly charged with bioterrorism. I'm keeping the evidence in a safe house I set up in the Ares district in case I'm caught. I'm preparing to dispose of this alias. I'll update you when I have an ETA. So she was straight up, like, Zeronica Jones was not a real person. The reason why she was capping and torturing people is because disease got out on Earth. I've heard good things about Disco Elysium. It is such a good game. It's not necessarily for everybody. It is absolutely the kind of game that I think certain people will find objectionable. Mixture of... I'm not going to say racist stereotypes, because the whole game kind of stands on its own. But it does confront you with certain things that might be uncomfortable. But not in a way that it's like... I wouldn't, for example, bail on Disco Elysium like I did with, what was that? Breath Edge. Screw Breath Edge. That game sucks. Let's see. Hey, did we find it? Yeah, light switch. Let's go back and fix my gun. But, like, it certainly has some kind of heavy topics here and there that you have to consider. Boy, the setting is incredible. I don't want to spoil anything, because, like, there's some stuff that's just, like, way later on that's just wild. But playing Disco Elysium was definitely one of those games that is, like, you know, holy shit, this is just, like, this needs to become the standard for CRPG writing and organization to some degree. And what happened in Breath Edge? Well, let's just say they had some off-color jokes that weren't jokes, but were just actually offensive. And, like, you could tell that the developers stood by their kind of opinions, and were just like, why are you so sensitive about this? And it's just like, I hate those people. I don't want anything to do with it. But honestly, like, especially in this modern day and age, taking pot shots at minorities and disadvantaged people is just like, nope, no thank you. I do not want anything to do with you. I can see why people might enjoy that sort of thing, but, like, it's just cruel. Okay, so we're hungry. Eat some spaghetti. Alright. There are very few games that I have quit on moral reasons. Mainly, I think, just Breath Edge and Heartbound, and, Witch and the Hundred Knight. Specifically, Witch and the Hundred Knight 2. Otherwise, like, most games don't bother me that much. I'm afraid to try, which game is it? I'm afraid to try Last of Us 2. I don't think I'd bail on that one for moral reasons, but I don't know if I'd be able to take it. Oh wow, we're still going on that engineering data chip. Oh, but we're almost done. Let's just pass out for a bit and wake back up again. Earthbound? No, Heartbound. Or is it Heartbeat? It's Heartbeat, not Heartbound. Effectively, the developers came out as aggressively anti-trans in a very negative way. And I was like, well, trash took itself out and deleted my series. Because I find people that are, like, aggressively anti, once again, minorities or disadvantaged people, it's just like, alright, I can gladly have nothing to do with you for the rest of my life and be totally okay with that. Don't like Last of Us 2's dev's attitude about things and how he was very much, you're just not enjoying my game right. I think he's right, but I think that's a very snooty thing to say. And especially for a game that is that sensitive of a topic, I'm 100%... Oh, we need to make another one of these. I'm 100% okay with, like, potentially staying away from that. Because Last of Us 2 very much feels like the kind of game that was made to shock and horrify people. And revels in that a little bit. And I understand why it is the way it is. But it's one of those that it's like, I guess I just don't need that level of negativity floating around in my brain. Okay, let's go dump these off. Because now we can make the big guns. Still can't research them yet, but we'll get there. No, I had that impression a little bit back when Shell and I were streaming Last of Us 2, or Last of Us 1. Because we just randomly decided to play it for, was it Halloween? I think it was Halloween. But one of the developers had popped in and actually was watching and commenting. And I very much got the feeling of, like, we made this game shocking and horrifying kind of intentionally to make you confront your own reality as a bit of a monster and some other things. And it's just like, I appreciate that, but that feels like the kind of thing that, like, I almost want to be forewarned about beforehand. Hence why I was talking about with Disco Elysium, that it might be hard on people because of its subject matter and handling of certain things. That from my own perspective, I would greatly appreciate it. Oh, right. I would greatly appreciate it if developers actively said, like, hey, our game is not going to be necessarily kind to you. To you and, like, the way you think about things to some degree. So, be wary going in. That, like, I don't necessarily need a disclaimer to protect myself from horrible things, but, you know, I mentioned not wanting to cover Witch in the Hundred Knight 2 for moral reasons. Effectively, they used sexual assault as, like, a cheap way of upping the stakes. Which, like, I get it. It does up the stakes a little bit, but it always feels real cheap when somebody does it if it's handled poorly. And that's what happened over the course of the game. And so I was very much just put off by it in a way that I did not appreciate. Oh, we can make the Power Pack XLs. Yes. We can go big. We can go real big here. Okay, in that case, probably go to the reactor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least. Followed by an additional 11? There's 16 total, yeah? Yeah, 16 total. Do I want to just make 16 Reactor module 4s. It would be overkill. And I wouldn't be able to. So we'll just make 5. Because yeah, I don't actually have enough metal composite. There we go. And I'll go back to bed. But no, it's like, I guess I can kind of respect The Last of Us 4 being kind of what it is and why they made it. Because, like, to some degree, you don't necessarily want to compromise art for the sake of people's sensibilities. That to some degree, like, you have to, oh, hey. We can't actually research any of these. I think I'm gonna... Well, dude. I'll make it an SMG with this at the very least. Do I make a shotgun too? Maybe. We could just go make the requisite parts. What does this need? Same deal? Sure. Because, yeah, we need the better research chip to be able to build the rest of this stuff. And so... let's make a couple of those. Now, I think I can make metal composite, but out of what? Glass fiber, palladium, and osseous extract. The one issue is osseous extract we get from enemies. So I don't necessarily want to do that one. Okay, nothing here to research. Everything else is good. Perfect. But I think the other failing that I would say specifically for The Last of Us 2 is the first game kind of made a lot of people hope for and expect like a slightly more wholesome game, and when it came out that it, well, when it ended up being a little bit less wholesome and a little bit more very dark, I think that hurts for a lot of people because, like, from my own perspective, I just do not want to play a game like that, just from my own perspective of, like, handling that level of negativity is hard. And, you know, maybe I could put up with it if I really, if I was in a good state. You know, if I was having a good week, I think I could deal with that. But games can affect me if they're, like, a certain caliber, I guess. I think that's a good thing, but it's kind of one of those where it's like, I can understand the negative reaction of, man, I was really looking forward to this game. It's a darn shame it's, it is what it is, because now I might not be able to play it, ever. Let's put the electric sword away, seeing as I can't research it. Did I finish this? Yeah, there we go. Let's make the big guns. And so yeah, a lot of people probably went into The Last of Us hoping that it was going to be kind of more Last of Us 1, and then got Last of Us 2, and then it's just like, I don't know. I think that can be hard on people. There's some games that, like, weirdly went edgy for no good reason. Or, like, changed tones when they, when the sequel came out. Holy shit, that has some durability on it. I'm sure it's still going to chew through it. And this is the plasma launcher. Alright, let's go fix up the last couple generators. I put that on the floor. There we go. How horrible it would be if the whole place could melt down just because I didn't replace one of these. That would actually get kind of dicey.